Hello and welcome everybody to the WooPlayer Q&A weekly webinar call. We're going to get started here in just one moment, but before we do, if you'll be kind enough to confirm that you can both hear my voice as well as see my screen, which should say WooPlayer Q&A on it, and then we can get started. Thank you. Alrighty, good. Sounds like we're getting some confirmations. Hello to Stephen from the City in the Bay, Alan, Dave, Dean, Alan. All right, great. So it seems like we're good to go. Dave's just saying, just want to thank you and your team for excellent job you did in resolving my pre-roll issues. Our pleasure. Alrighty, so let's get started. So just a brief introduction. My name is Peter. I am WooPlayer's product manager, and we're holding these calls in order to answer any questions that you as users may have, also to provide any training on advanced features or use cases of video in your business, also to showcase new stuff that we've been working on, as well as to gather feedback on how we can keep improving WooPlayer, be that if you have some good feedback or negative feedback, constructive criticism, we're here to hear it out and improve WooPlayer based on that. The format of the webinar is pretty straightforward, so at any time that you have a question or if you came prepared with any questions, just drop them in the chat box and we'll start answering them in the order that they come in. So also if you're not able to attend any of these webinars but would like to see a replay of them, they are uploaded weekly both on our YouTube channel as well as in our Facebook group, which I would highly recommend you subscribe and join to. What else? Also, if you're unable to ask a question but would like to have a question answered, just send us an email or a chat at support@woopplayer.com, or just post a question in the Facebook group, and then we can answer them in the following webinar. I think I got most of the housekeeping notes. If I forgot something, I'll just circle back to it. Just a couple of things that I wanted to mention as new in the application. We had a new release of the application today, and I think a lot of people which have been requesting this are going to be pretty pleased with it. Recently launched is the ConvertFox integration. So that's now available in the application, and I think there's a doc already up there available. Let me just take a quick look at it. So with the ConvertFox integration, it's a full native integration supporting, wow, that's zoomed in. Let me just zoom out for a second. ConvertFox. ConvertFox integration. It supports gathering of leads from WooPlayer and passing them forward, passing them on to ConvertFox. Also, the ability to use the customer data stored in ConvertFox to customize and personalize the content of WooPlayer videos, as well as the ability to track viewing events in ConvertFox. And there are some nifty explanations on how you connect ConvertFox, how you can utilize it, as well as how you can track those events, as well as use those events to create custom segments within ConvertFox. So a lot of people have been requesting this integration, and we're pleased to announce that it is now fully available. So hope you enjoyed that update. Also, there's been some updates with regards to the uploading process, which should go a lot smoother now for people who are living far away from New York City. So now we have several upload locations which we are supporting based on user locations. So that's one of the things which we've enhanced, as well as just the upload and the initial conversion process have been improved significantly as well. So that's one thing that's also new inside of WooPlayer. Aside from that, last week I mentioned some big upcoming changes rolling out to the accounts and licenses. So I'll just throw this out there here for the first time in the webinar, so you guys are first to hear this. We're going to be introducing a free plan to VooPlayer, which is going to be, as the name states, completely free. It is, however, going to be restricted to 5 videos max, so something similar to what Wistia is doing. We want to get people in VooPlayer and want to have people be aware of all of the value that they can extract from VooPlayer without committing to any time frames or financial obligations. So we have our infrastructure at a pretty stable spot currently, where we're able to welcome a lot of new users on free accounts. So be on a lookout for that. And also, as I mentioned, for everybody who did upgrade to Enterprise or who are on Enterprise now, you'll be pretty glad you've done that already, because Enterprise pricing is going to start going up. Of course, everybody who's locked in are locked in, so nothing's going to change there. But for new people, Enterprise pricing is going to start becoming a little bit more expensive, which we feel is the right thing to do, considering that we've added a lot of new additional value to VooPlayer throughout 2018. All right, so those are some of the housekeeping notes. So we can get to some questions now. So let's see. Dean is saying, playlist, as you know, the list is on the right-hand side and cannot view correctly on mobile. I just recorded a replay from Lena that is now a feedback versus a bug. And it's low case priority. Where do we stand with this issue? Cannot use it due to very poor experience on mobile. So let's take a look at the playlist just for a second, if I have any. Oh, I have plenty playlists. So I don't know if any of these are still active. So apologies if this gets a little bit, if I get 404s on these. Let me just take a look if this is going to work. Yeah, this is going to work. This can work. So here's the playlist, and let's see how it's going to look like on mobile devices. Let me just shrink it up. So something like that, maybe. So let's see how that's going to behave. So this should be kind of the, I guess, the optimized look of the playlist on mobile devices. From my standpoint, it is pretty usable. At least off the top of my head, I don't necessarily see any other way to also present a playlist and the full video aside from just minimizing the playlist. So I'm not sure if this is the experience that you're viewing, Dean, and if this is what's causing problems. We have gathered a lot of feedback on how this can be improved with regards to having the ability to have the playlist shown below the video and above the video, but that's just not something that we've gotten around to just yet. Playlist is, however, one of our more popular features, so it does carry some priority with that. And as we said, we don't necessarily see anything that's breaking because of that display of playlists. So that's perhaps the reason why the team decided not to treat it as a bug, but rather as a feedback point. That is not what it looks like on an Android device. All right, I'll take a look at it on an Android device once I have one handy. Again, not necessarily the right forum for discussing bugs, if it is a bug. More of a feedback topic discussion for the webinar. But all right, I'll take a look at it and follow up with you to see if there are any issues, particularly on Android devices. Stephen is saying, in line with Dean comment, I've suggested a mobile preview or watch option in addition to the current desktop view. Is this technically feasible? In line with Dean's comment, I've suggested a mobile preview or watch option in addition to the current desktop view. Is this technically feasible? Stephen, if you could clarify with regards to mobile preview, what mobile preview of a playlist, how would that function? If we can get some feedback, actual specific feedback rolling around this, I would really appreciate that. So I see some potential improvements for how this can be improved, as I said, with the playlist being even maybe even more minimized and maybe fully to the left. The big issue, of course, the ideal display of this would be with just popping the playlist below the video, and that kind of solves that issue completely, and that would be a natural place for it. However, the issue with that is that then we would have to resize all of the players on different embeds across different websites, and that's just a nightmare to get into. So that's perhaps why we're somewhat hesitant on that, but I appreciate everybody's feedback on the playlists, and it definitely helps us drive priority on future enhancements to it. Steven's clarifying by saying now it opens in another tab as the browser view. I mean, as a mobile view in the browser. Still not clear what that's about. Lewis is saying pre-rolled videos. Currently, autoplay is the only option. Any chance we could see at least the option of only on first page visit, like with regular autoplay, or better still be able to switch it off completely? Yes, that's actually something that we are considering. Actually, not considering. That's something that's planned as a change request. A lot of people have requested that already. Currently, the behavior of pre-rolled videos is that regardless of your setting, this video is broken. Just give me a chance to get another one. The ability to set a pre-roll video means that video is automatically gonna play as soon as where are pre-roll videos, pre and post-roll videos. The ability is gonna, the video is gonna autoplay as soon as the video loads on the page, which is definitely not the best experience in all different contexts and use cases. So we're definitely gonna add an ability to say, don't autoplay the pre-roll video, which is going to mean that you're gonna have a play button as you would normally, and then you would just have the pre-roll video play as it would, as a normal video would, after which, once it's finished, you would have the main video. So thanks for bringing that up, Lewis. That's definitely one of the new improvements that are coming to the pre-roll videos, thanks to customer feedback. All right, so let's see, what else do we have? Dimori is saying, can you add webhooks in VoolPlayer so we can connect to more tools that use it? It also means that we can take advantage of new personalization without you having to do a native integration for the tool. I think adding this would really open up the possibilities to VoolPlayer. Yes, supporting webhooks as a integration has been mentioned a few times, and we do see certain use cases which could be covered with this. So, for example, you could specify, let's say that you have a custom webhook option here, and you can enter in your endpoint to which you can trigger integration. So that's all fine and well with us, but for example, that wouldn't necessarily, I don't see how, if you could clarify a little bit, Dimori, on how that would help with personalization, because you're basically sending data to a webhook. You can't just fetch data from a webhook, or unless you were thinking of some sort of a two-way connection. If you can explain that a little bit, but I definitely, as I mentioned, there's definitely value added in providing your own webhook endpoint to which we can send events to. So that's definitely something also that we're considering. So thank you for bringing that up. Lewis is saying, did you miss Jim's question, or did I miss the response? I think I missed the question. Let me just scroll down a little bit. I might have missed it. Is there any way to increase the file size when using files from Google Drive? Is there any way to increase the file size when using files from Google Drive? I'm not sure how to answer that. Jim, if you can clarify that a little bit, I would really appreciate it, because if you are hosting a file on Google Drive and you are linking to it from VoolPlayer, there's nothing that we do to it. Basically, we just looking. Actually, I see what you're referring to. You're referring to the 35 megabyte limit that Google Drive has on the files that you are able to upload a link to from WooPlayer. All right, I got you now. At least that's what I'm assuming. So as you know, Google Drive has a limit on the videos which you can access directly their source. So that's not only for videos, that's for any files. So Google Drive has a built-in virus scanner that prevents anybody from accessing the file directly unless the file has been scanned by their virus scanner. And the limit for that virus scanner, I assume because of performance considerations, is set to, I think, some around 35 or 40 megabytes or something like that. So that's a limitation that we can't overcome in any way. It's not something on our end. It's something on Google Drive's end. So if they do increase that limit in the future, let me just Google that really quickly. So Google Drive virus scan limit on large files. Let's see what we get back. How to skip the Google Drive virus about large files. That's something old. Maximum file size for virus scan. Let's take a look at that, what that limit is right now. Last I remember, it was around 35 megabytes or something like that. Let's take a look at it. What's the maximum files? Only files smaller than 25 megabytes can be scanned for viruses. For large files, warning is displayed saying that a file can't be scanned. And that's the reason, because if Google Drive, which is controlling access to that file, determines that a warning is required, then we can't access that file until such time as that consent is given directly by the client, meaning that somebody has to click on something to say that it's required. I'm not sure how confident I would say this 25 megabyte limit is. Actually, seems that there's more information on this link. So let me just see upload files to Drive. Drive storage is shared between blah, 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 blah. The amount of free storage. Let's see, virus scanning. Google Drive scans the file. If a virus is detected, the owner only files smaller. All right, so it looks like they increased that limit. Only files smaller than 100 megabyte can be scanned for viruses. For larger files, a warning is displayed saying that the file can be scanned. So yeah, with Google Drive, you were stuck with that limit. Sorry about that. It's up to them. I think they recently increased this, and they might continue to increase it in the future. No way around that, unfortunately. All right, so let's see. Demori is saying, was thinking a two-way connection, for example, be able to connect an email address to their views. Okay, we can then see how much of a video they watched, to be able to get someone's name in CRM to add personalization, first name. Demori, just considering that this might be a somewhat technical discussion on how all of this would work, I would suggest you just initiate a chat conversation with the support team and just say that you like to speak with Peter about potentially developing a custom webhook integration, and that way we can get that conversation rolling in order to get into some details around how that would work. That's what I would suggest on that. Lewis is saying 25 megabyte in this day and age is next to useless. So yeah, so that 25 megabyte limit was from some forum post, but on the official Google Drive page, they say 800 megabytes. So yeah. Stephen is saying, I had some problems uploading MOV files. Support said this is a known issue. Is there any time frame on a fix? For now, converting to MP4 first looks like the best choice. Thank you. There's no known issues, at least that I'm aware of, regarding MOV files. MOV files are supported the same as MP4 files. However, I will add that MOV files are definitely more prone to having issues with them, just because they are using somewhat non-standard codecs for web display. with the exception of Apple devices, which is not that common of a scenario in web server conversion and transcoding of video, so that MOV files can be in certain scenarios more problematic. Our recommendation is always, of course, all of your files should work by default by uploading them to VooPlayer. And if they're not, what we would usually love to do is get the original file which you are having issues with, get a download link to that file so that we can troubleshoot that specific files. I know that we've tested a lot of different MOV files which converted without issues. So that usually means that there's a issue with a specific encoding type of a file or something along those lines, which is preventing that MOV file from being converted successfully. Aside from that, if you continue to have issues, there's always going to be one weird scenario which is not covered, or a couple of those. And then our recommendation always in those instances is to optimize your video for web use. Optimize video for web use. Let me just check that article out. Optimizing video for web. And in that, it states what's sort of the best preparation to get a video ready to be encoded in VooPlayer without any issues. So if you are able to add that as part of your process, that's great, because that's going to both help the streaming speeds as well as the encoding process, and everything's going to just go a lot smoother. If you are not, however, or if you just would prefer not to deal with that additional step, as I mentioned, we recommend you uploading a file as you have it. However, if you run into issues, please do understand that we're just not able to cover every imaginable scenario. MOV files in general are supported the same as our MP4 files. However, as I mentioned, sometimes there's more issues with them, in which case we would definitely appreciate the download link to the original file so that we can troubleshoot it directly. Can't just mention MOV files and expect a solution out of that. There's if not dozens, different types of MOV encodings and different types of issues which can come out of that. So, Stephen, if you are having issues with a particular MOV file, there's nothing that we can do about it without having access to the specific file before it's uploaded. So the original file download link would help us with that. Lewis is saying, is there any way of having the option of the resolution icon in the control panel showing or not showing? Oh, no, that's not something that we've considered before. So that's an interesting feedback point. Why would you want to do that, Louis? So the actually, I see why that could be a problem. So in some instances, there is, but that would require you to hide all controls, not selectively just the resolution picker icon. So you could hide all controls. However, if you just wanted to hide the resolutions, where is that? Player controls, and then hide all controls. So that would hide all of the controls. However, there's not one which would allow you to just hide the resolutions. But that's definitely something to consider. If you could give us just a use case with regards to why you would want to do that, that would help us drive the priority on that. However, if the resolutions were generated for a particular video, then a small cog icon will appear in the toolbar. Stephen is saying, my problem was it just hung up and said loading for hours. Should we assume it's broken after a minute or so? Maybe add a warning alert after some time passes. Yeah, definitely something that we're working on improving the communication between the conversion server and the client side. So that's an ongoing effort to give you better statuses. If I wouldn't say a minute or two, but if you've been definitely waiting for 10-20 minutes, then I would definitely say that there's something wrong going on, and you should probably just give up on it at that time. Again, as I stated, what really helps us and what's going to help others in similar use cases, if you can just provide us with a download link to the original file so that we can examine it and troubleshoot it directly. Mike is saying, this could be a newbie question, but can you explain how a 340 megabyte file becomes 5.5 gigabytes? I only have one video on my videos. And it's telling me that I've used 5.5 gigabytes. That's a good question. What you can do, Mike, is sometimes you might have failed uploads like Steven has experienced, in which case you can come over here to My Files. On the toolbar, I clicked on my name, and you can click on My Files, and then that's going to give you a list of all of the files which are occupying your space. So it will be somewhat unprecedented if 340 megabyte file has turned into 5.5 gigabytes. Files can sometimes be increased, but in My Files, you're going to have a really good overview of that. So if you only have one video, that's going to be pretty straightforward, because all of the files which are used in a video are going to say, hey, this is used in this video. However, you might have files. So for example, I have this file which is occupying a couple of megabytes, but it's not used on any video. So that can be remnants of a failed upload or something along those lines, which you are more than welcome to delete. So that's the first thing that I would check to see if you have some unused files in My Files. And the second thing that I would recommend is sometimes the standard conversion process is not optimal. So what you can do is, when you're uploading a file, especially if you are securing your videos with HLS subscription, if you're having issues with file sizes increasing after upload, you can click over here on this little cog icon, and you can use two-pass conversion. Basically, that means that your file is going to it states longer process resulting in better quality and smaller size files. So you can just click on that, and that's going to result in much better quality, as well as actually better balance between quality and file size. However, that process is going to take a little bit longer, because it literally converts the file twice in order to cut down on excessive bandwidth in the video, as well as to increase quality wherever possible. So that's one thing that I would recommend if you continue to have issue with that. Yes, I see that have 3 JPEGs and 1 video file for 121 megabytes. If Mike, I don't want to just get into your account on the webinar call and start going through it. So that's definitely not an expected scenario. So do reach out to us at support@woolplayer.com or via chat, and then we can take a look at your account and see if there's anything. And it sounds like there's not everything is in order there, so we'll help you. Excellent. Lewis is saying, with a sub account, if the user goes full screen, with some browsers it shows WoolPlayer is now full screen. Will this change to the sub account name now is full screen? Oh, I remember this question a while ago. I can't remember the answer. What was causing the it was either the source of the video or the source of the iframe, which was I think, don't hold me to this, but I'm 90% sure that if you're using a custom domain, so for example, lewisplayer.com, then it would say lewisplayer.com is now in full screen rather than WoolPlayer. I'm not 100% confident on that, but I'll double check and circle back, and if you have an ability to test that and let us know, that would be great. Alrighty. We're running out of time here today, so I want to thank everybody who joined today. Hopefully we'll see you next week as well. Some great questions asked today. Just to follow up on some things, we definitely are adding in the near future that ability to turn off autoplay on pre-roll videos. That's definitely something that's inevitable to happen. We also are planning on further improvements on communication between the conversion server and the upload process, so that you as users are more informed with regards to everything that's going on. Also, I need to follow up with Dean on those mobile playlist issues and check how they're displaying on the Android, just to figure out if there's any additional optimizations that we can do there. It's a bit of a longer game with regards to optimizing that display of the list to be below or above the video, or some solution such as that. So we'll look into those as well. Mike, expecting you to contact us at support to figure out what's going on with the storage on your account. So that's hopefully we'll see you next week, and I'll get in touch with everybody who I just mentioned in order to follow up on everything. Thanks everybody again, and hopefully you have a nice week. Bye.